And out front, Katrina Pierson, she is spokeswoman for the Tea Party Leadership Fund, and Republican strategist Mercedes Schlapp. Thanks for both of you coming tonight. Katrina, I want to start with you. Jeb Bush slamming Trump's immigration plan. You heard it there. Unrealistic, costing billions of dollars, hundreds of billions, in fact, and offensive, violating people's civil liberties. How do you answer that charge?
I say it's just all talk. You know, it's really nice that Jeb Bush stopped for a photo op when he was really there for a fundraiser, but didn't bother to go see the border and then wants to grandstand that his plan is the best. But here's the thing. He didn't talk about what his plan would cost. He talks about the billions of dollars that it would cost to get it under control, but in his plan, he wants to let everybody come in, let everybody stay, and share the costs with the states. But he doesn't put a number on that, which happens to be in the billions as well. Jeb Bush needs to take a step back and ask the voters what they want, because if you look at the polls right now, it's Donald Trump's plan, and there's no denying that.
Mercedes, I want to ask you, but keep in mind, Katrina, it's a right-leaning think tank, the American Action Forum, which estimates it would cost $400 to $600 billion to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants, and by its estimate, reduce real GDP by $1.6 trillion. I mean, these charges are not coming from the left; they're coming from the right.
Right. But the point is, but hold on. He was talking to me about those numbers. The point is that there isn't a number put on what it would cost to keep them here, and that was my point.
Mercedes, let me give you a chance to respond.
Sure. Well, I mean, when you look at immigrants who are here legally and contributing to our economy and doing a lot of the jobs that Americans don't want to do, I mean, this is about creating economic growth in America. And if we have an immigration, I mean, we are a land of immigrants. This is where, you know, the Irish came to our country to search for a better life, to contribute to America. And the key is you have individuals who left very bad situations in their own countries. When you look at Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, coming to America for a better life for their families. And guess what? Because of the fact that we have not enforced the law, and we've had President Obama with an executive overreach on immigration, he's basically ignored this problem. You already have the problem here. So how do you deal with it? Katrina, do you actually think that you're going to round up these millions of individuals that have been here, some of these children who are born in America, and deport them? That is not popular amongst Republican voters in general. I'm so sorry.
Well, it is popular among some Republican voters, and it's because no one is buying into the scary tactics of rounding people up at gunpoint and sending them away. Trump's plan calls for sending back the criminals first, and the families will work with them.
Which we can agree with.
Maybe that looks like a sponsorship program. Maybe it doesn't. We don't know that yet, but what we do know is that Trump plans puts Americans and their children first, including legal residents, not some off-brand shoot of just let everybody come and we'll just figure out how to do it along the way. Because to be honest with you,
Katrina,
but that's what Jeb Bush is saying. If you're born here, you should stay here. That's what we're talking about, the birthright citizenship, which is a vast difference between the two candidates.
Which is actually an important debate to have at this point. You're right. There's fraud that does happen. Individuals who come and have their babies here and then expect to get citizenship. Should that be a debate? Absolutely. But the mere fact that we have ignored immigration and illegal immigration in our country for so long, and the problem hasn't been dealt with, now you're going to go after those 11 million undocumented immigrants and say, get out of here? That's not realistic.
Mercedes,
that's not the American public should not have to take up for the politicians who have failed. It is time to deal with the issue, and you have to deal with it swiftly because we're on economic fumes right now. We can't afford to let all these people stay here and put them on the systems. Texas couldn't expand Medicaid because it would go bankrupt.
Mercedes, give me a second, and Katrina, I'll give you a second to respond to this as well. Bush, we heard him speak in Spanish today at his press conference, conducting really an entire interview as well for Telemundo in Spanish. He has called Trump's plan, as you know, offensive. And he also spoke about his own wife and children, who are, of course, Latino background. Have a listen to what he said.
Yo soy orgullosamente casado con una mexicana americana. Mis hijos son hispanos. He estado involucrado en la vida.
I want to ask you, Mercedes, because here you heard that applause there. You heard him talking about pride as well, and yet Trump is still trouncing Bush in the polls. Why is that message not getting across?
Well, I think Trump loves looking at the polls, but one poll I don't think he's seen is the one that came out on Gallup today, basically saying that 65% of Hispanics view him unfavorably. So it might be time for him to change his rhetoric on the Hispanics. It's about tone. So you know what? Jeb Bush and these other candidates have to be true to themselves in terms of immigration and figuring out the best way that they can fix the system.
Katrina,
but
that's
again, to the point is, it's going to be about tone and rhetoric and how you can really reach out to those Hispanics in key states like Florida, Colorado, Nevada. That's going to be critical. If we cannot win Florida in a general election, we will lose.
Katrina, that's a fair question. You know that after 2012, the Republican Party itself looked at itself and said we have to do a better job with Latinos. How do they do that when this is the message that is coming from the Republican frontrunner?
Well, it wasn't the Republican Party, and you'll recall that it wasn't the base that chose the nominee. And the same people that wrote that autopsy report were the same consultant classes out there talking about we have to pander to Hispanics, and we don't. How insulting is it to the Mexican Americans, to the Latino Americans, and legal residents of this country where they feel like they have to be pandered to, and it's not true. They want the truth like everybody else. That's why Trump is winning Latinos in Nevada and why he's ahead in Florida.
He's not winning Latinos. He really isn't. He needs to change his rhetoric in order to gain Hispanic support. You should look at the Gallup poll. It just came out today.
Well, Katrina and Mercedes.
In Nevada, in Florida?
I want to thank both of you.
Nationally.
And you're hearing, and we are hearing right here, the deep emotion and differences on this issue. And keep in mind, this is within the Republican Party there before we even get to the general election. Mercedes, Katrina, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. We'll certainly speak to you again.